Well, what is chapter 32? Petronius went home shrugging his shoulders and greatly dissatisfied. It was evident to him that he and Vinicius had ceased to understand each other, and their souls had separated entirely. Once Petronius had immense influence over the young soldier. He had been for him a model in everything, and frequently a few ironical words of his sufficed to restrain Vinicius or urge him to something. At present there remained nothing of that. Such was the change that Petronius did not try his former methods, feeling that his wit and irony would not slip without effect along the new principles which love and contact with the uncomprehended society of Christians had put in the soul of Vinicius. The veteran skeptic understood that he had lost the key to that soul. This knowledge filled him with dissatisfaction and even with fear, which was heightened by the events of that night. If not, if on the part of the Augusta it is not a passing whim, but a more indulgent desire, thought Petronius, one of two things will happen. Either Vinicius will not resist her, and he might be ruined by any accident, or what is like him today, he will resist, and in that event he will be ruined certainly, and perhaps I with him, even because I am his relative and because the Augusta, having included a whole family in her hatred, will throw the weight of her influence on the side of Tigellinus. In this way, that is bad. Petronius was a man of courage and felt no dread of death, but since he hoped nothing from it, he had no wish to invent it. After long meditation, he decided at last that it will be better and safer to send Vinicius from Rome on a journey. But if in addition he could give him Lygia for the road, he will do so with pleasure. But he hoped that it will not be too difficult to persuade him to the journey without her. He would spread a report on the Palatine, then of Vinicius' illness, and remove danger as well from his nephew as himself. The Augusta did not know whether she was recognized by Vinicius. She might suppose that she was not, hence her vanity had not suffered so much. But it might be different in the future, and it was necessary to avoid peril. Petronius wished to gain time above all, for he understood that once Caesar set out for Achaia, Tigellinus, who comprehended nothing in the domain of art, will descend to the second place and lose his influence. In grace Petronius was sure of victory over every opponent. Meanwhile he determined to watch over Vinicius and urge him to the journey. For a number of days he was ever thinking over this, that if he obtained an edict from Caesar expelling the Christians from Rome, Lygia will leave it with another confessor of Christ, and after her Vinicius too. Then there will be no need to persuade him. The thing itself was possible. In fact, it was not so long since when the Jews began disturbances out of hatred to the Christians. Claudius, unable to distinguish one from the other, explained to the Jews, "Why should not Nero expel the Christians? There will be more room in Rome without them." After that floating feast, Petronius saw Nero daily, both on the Palatine and in other houses. To suggest such an idea was easy, for Nero never opposed suggestions which brought harm or ruin to anyone. After mature decision, Petronius framed a whole plan for himself. He will prepare a feast in his own house, and at his feast persuade Caesar to issue an edict. He had even a hope, which was no barren, that Caesar will confine the execution of the edict to him. He will send out Lygia with all the consideration proper to the mistress of Vinicius to Baiae, for instance, and to let them love and amuse themselves there with Christianity as much as they liked. Meanwhile, he visited Vinicius frequently, first because he could not, despite all his Roman selfishness, rid himself of attachment to the young tribune, and second because he wished to persuade him to the journey. Vinicius feigned sickness, and did not show himself on the Palatine, where new plans appeared every day. Alas, Petronius heard from Caesar's own lips that 3 days from then he will go to Antium without fail. Next morning he went straight away to inform Vinicius, who showed him a list of persons invited to the Antium, which list one of Caesar's freedmen had brought him that morning. My name is not is on my name is on it, is so is thine, said he. Thou wilt find the same at thy house on returning. Where I am were I not among the invited, replied Petronius, it will mean that I must die. I do not expect that to happen before the journey of Achaia. I shall be too useful to Nero. Barely have we come to Rome, said he, on looking at the list, when we must leave again and drag over the road to Atium. But we must go, for this is not merely an invitation, it is a command as well. And if someone will not obey, he will be invited in another style to go on a journey notably longer, one from which people do not return. What a pity that thou hast not obeyed my counsel and left Rome in season. Now thou must go to Antium. I must go to Antium, seeing what times we live, and what vile slave we are. Hast thou noticed that only today? No, but thou hast explained to me that Christian's teaching is an enemy of life, since it shackles it. But can their shackles be stronger than those we carry? Thou hast said Greece created wisdom and beauty, and Rome power. Where is our power? Call Chilo and talk with him. I have no desire today to philosophize. By Hercules, I do not create these times, I do not answer for them. Let us speak of Antium. Know that the great danger is within thee, and it will be better perhaps to measure strength with that Ursus who choked Croton than to go there, but still thou canst not refuse. Vinicius waved his hand carelessly and said, Danger, we're all wandering in the shadow of death, and every moment some head sinks in its darkness. I am I to enum am I to enumerate all who had little sense, and therefore, in spite of the times of Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, and Nero, lived 80 and 90 years? Let even such a man as Domitius, after, serve thee as an example. He has grown old quietly, though all his life he has been a criminal and a villain. Perhaps for that very reason, answered Vinicius. Then he began to glance over the list and read Tigellinus, Vatinius, Sextus Africanus, Aquilinius Regulus, Suilius, Nerulinus, Epius, Marcellus, and so on. What an assembly of ruffians and scoundrels, and to say that that they govern the world. Would it not be them better to exhibit an Egyptian or a Syrian divinity through villages, jingle sistra, and earn their bread by telling fortunes or dancing? Or exhibit 10 learned monkeys calculating dogs, or a flute-playing ass? Added Petronius. That is, but let us speak of something more important. Summon thy attention and listen. I have said on the Palatine that thou art ill, unable to leave the house. Still thy name is on the list, which proves that someone does not credit my stories and has seen this purposely. Nero cares nothing for the matter, since for him thou art a soldier, who has no conception of poetry or music, and with whom at the very highest he can talk only about races in the circus. So Poppaea must have seen to putting down thy name, which means that her desire for thee was not a passing whim, and that she wants to win thee. She is a daring Augusta. Indeed she is daring, for she might ruin herself beyond redemption. Might Venus inspire her, however, with another love as soon as possible. But since she desired thee, thou must observe the very greatest caution. She has begun to worry Bronzebeard already. He prefers Ruberia now, or Pythagoras, but through consideration of self, he will wreak the most horrible vengeance on us. In the group I knew not that she was speaking to me, but though were listening, I said that I loved another, and did not wish her, thou knowest that. I implore thee, by all the infernal gods, lose not the remnant of reason which the Christians have left in thee. How is it possible to hesitate, having a choice between probable and certain destruction? Have I not said already that if thou hast wounded the Augustus vanity, there will have been no rescue for thee by Hades? If life has grown hateful to thee, better open thy veins at once, or cast thyself on a sword. For shouldst thou open Poppaea, a less easy death may meet thee. It was easier once to converse with thee. What concerns thee especially? Will this affair cause thee loss, or hinder thee from loving thy Ligia? Remember, besides, that Poppaea saw her on the Palatine. It will not be difficult for her to guess why thou art rejecting which softy favor, and she will get Ligia even from under the earth. Thou wilt ruin not only thyself, but Ligia too, dost understand? Vinicius listened, as if thinking of something else, and at last he said, I must see her. ¿Qué? Oh, Ligia, Ligia. those, those don't know where she is. No. Then thou wilt begin anew to search for her in all cemeteries and beyond the Tiber. I know not. I must see her. While though she is a Christian, it might turn out that she has more judgment than thou, and it will certainly, unless she wishes, thine ruin. Vinicius shrugs his shoulders. She saved me from the hands of Ursus. Then hurry, for Broadbeard will not postpone his departure. Sentences of death might be issued in Antium also. But Vinicius did not hear. One thought alone occupied him, an interview with Ligia. Hence he began to think of the Bretons. Meanwhile, something intervened which might set aside every difficulty. Chilo came to his house unexpectedly. He entered wrenched and worn, with signs of hunger on his face and in rags. But the servants who had the former command to admit him at all hours of the day or night did not dare to detain him, so he went straight to the atrium, and standing before Vinicius said, May the gods give thee immortality, and share with thee dominion over the world. Vinicius at the first moment wished to give the order to throw him out of doors, but the thought came to him that the Greeks perhaps knew something of Ligia, and curiosity overcame his disgust. Is that thou, asked he, what has happened to thee? Evil, O son of Jove, answered Chilo. Real virtue is aware of which no one inquires now, and a Julian sage must be glad of this even, that once in 5 days he was something with which to buy from the butcher a sheep's head, to gnaw in a garret, washing it down with his tears. Ah, Lord, what those deeds give me! I paid a tractus for books, and afterward I was robbed and ruined. The slave who was to write down my wisdom fled, taking the remnant of what thy generosity bestowed on me. I am in misery, but I thought to myself, to whom can I go, if not thee, O Serapis, whom I love and defy, for whom I have exposed my life? Why hast thou come? What dost thou bring? I come for aid, O Baal, and I bring my misery, my tears, my love, and finally the information which through love for thee I have collected. Thou remembers, Lord, that I told thee once I had given a slave for the divine Petronius one thread from the girdle of the Paphian Venus. I know now that it helped her, and thou, O descendant of the sun, who knowest what is happening in thy house, knowest also that Eunice is there. I have another such thread. I have preserved it for thee, Lord. Here he stopped, on noticing the anger which was gathering on the brows of Vinicius, and said quickly so as to anticipate the outburst. I know where the divine Ligia is living. I will show thee the street and the house. Vinicius repressed the emotion which that news filled him, and said, "Where is she?" "With Linus, the elder priest of the Christians. She is there with Ursus, who goes as before to the miller, and namesake of thy dispenser Demas." "Yes, Demas. Ursus works in the night, so if thou surround the house at night, thou wilt not find him. Linus is old, and besides him there are only two aged women in the house." "Whence thou know all this?" "Thou rememberest, the Lord, that the Christians had me in their hands and spared me. True, Glaucus was mistaken in thinking that I was the cause of his misfortunes, but he believed that I was, poor man, and he believes so yet. Still they spared me. Then be not astonished, Lord, that gratitude filled my heart. I am a man of better times. This was my thought. Am I to deserve friends and benefactors? Will I not have been hard-hearted, not to inquire about them, not to learn what was happening to them, how wealth was serving them, and where they were living? By the Persian Cybele, I am not capable of such conduct. At first I was restrained by fear, and they might interpret my wishes incorrectly. But the love which I bore them proved greater than my fear, and the ease with which they forgive every injustice lent me special courage. But above all, I was thinking of thee, Lord. Our last attempt ended in defeat. But I can such a son of fortune be reconciled with defeat? So I prepare victory for thee. The house stands apart. Thou mayst give command to thy slave to surround it, so that not a mouse could escape. My lord, on thee alone it depends to have magnanimous king's daughter in thy house this very night. But should that happen, remember that the cause of it is the very poor and hungry son of my father." The blood rushed to Vinicius' head. Temptation shook all his being, and again, "Yes, that was the method. At this time a certain one. Once he has Lygia in his house, who can take her? Once he makes Lygia his mistress, what will be left of her, unless to remain so forever, and let all religions perish? What will the Christians mean to him then, with their mercy and forbidding faith? Is it not time to shake himself free of all that? Is it not time to live as all live? What will Lygia do later, save to reconcile her faith with the religion which he professes? That, too, is a question of inferior significance. Those are matters devoid of importance. First of all, she will be his, and his this very day. And it is a question, too, whether that religion will hold out in her soul against the world which is new to her, against luxury and excitements to which she must yield. All may happen today. He needs only to detain Chilo and give an order at dark, and then the light will without end. What has his life been? Thought Vinicius, suffering, unsatisfied desire, and an endless propounding of problems without answer. In this way all will be cut short and ended. He recollected, it is true, that he had promised not to raise a hand against her, but what had she sworn? Not by the gods, for he did not believe in them, not by Christ, for he did not believe in him yet. Finally, if she feels injured, he will marry her and thus repair the wrong. Yes, to that he feels bound. For her he is indebted for life. Here he recalled the day in which with Croton he had attacked her retreat. He remembered the legions first raised above him, and all that had happened later. He saw her again bent over his couch, dressed in the garb of a slave, beautiful as divinity, a benefactress, kind and glorified. His eyes passed to the lararium unconsciously, and to the little cross which she left him before going. Will he pay for all that by a new attack? Will he drag her by the hair as a slave to his cubiculum? And how will he be able to do so, since he not only desires but loves her? and he loves her especially because she is as she is. All at once he felt it was not enough for him to have her in the house. It was not enough to seize her in his arms by superior force. He felt that his love needed something more, her consent, her loves, her soul. Bless that roof, if she come under it willingly. Bless the moment, bless the day, bless his life. Then happiness of both will be as inexhaustible as the ocean and the sun. But to seize her by violence will be to destroy their happiness forever, and at the same time to destroy and defile that which is most precious and alone beloved in life. Terror seized him now at the very thought of this. He glanced at Chilo, who, while watching him, pushed his hands under his rags and scratched them uneasily. That instant disgust unspeakable took possession of Vinicius, and a wish to trample that former assist of his, as he would full worm or venomous serpent. In an instant he knew what to do, but knowing no measure in anything, and following the impulse of his stern Roman nature, he turned toward Chilo and said, I will not do what thou advisest, but lest thou go without just reward, I will command to give thee 300 stripes in the domestic prison. Chilo grew pale. There was so much cold resolution in the beautiful face of Vinicius that he could not deceive himself for a moment with the hope that the promised reward was no more than a cruel jest. Hence he threw himself on his knees in one instant, and bending double, began to groan in a broken voice. How, O King of Persia? Why, O Pyramid of Kindness? Colossus of Mercy! For what? I am all hungry, unfortunate. I have served thee. Those thou repay in this matter? As though these the Christians, the Venetians, and he called the dispenser. Pachilo sprang toward his feet and embracing them convulsively, talked, while his face was covered with deadly pallor. O Lord, I am old, 50, not 300 stripes. 50 are enough. 100, not 300. Oh, mercy, mercy. Vinicius thrust him away with his foot and gave the order. In the twinkle of an eye, two powerful quadi followed the dispensator, and seizing Chilo by the remnant of his hair, tied his own rags round his neck and dragged him to the prison. In the name of Christ, called the Greek at the exit of the corridor. Vinicius was left alone. The order just issued rose and enlivened him. He endeavored to collect his scattered thoughts and bring them to order. He felt great relief, and the victory which he had gained over himself filled him with comfort. He thought that he had made some great approach toward Lygia, and that some high reward should be given him. At the first moment it did not even occur to him that he had done a grievous wrong to Chilo, and had him flogged for the very acts for which he had rewarded him previously. He has too much of a Roman yet to be pained by another man's suffering, and to occupy his attention with one wrecked Greek. Had he even thought of Chilo's suffering, he would have considered that he had acted properly in giving command to punish such a villain. But he was thinking of Lygia, and said to her, I will not pay thee with evil for good. And when thou shalt learn how I acted with him who strove to persuade me to raise hands against thee, thou wilt be grateful. But here he stopped, and he thought, will Lygia praise his treatment of Chilo? The religion which she professes commands forgiveness. Nay, the Christians forgave the villain, though they had greater reasons for revenge. Then for the first time was heard in his soul the cry, in the name of Christ. He remembered then that Chilo had ransomed himself from the hands of Ursus with such a cry, and he determined to remit that remainder of the punishment. With that object he was going to summon the dispensator, when that person stood before him and said, Lord, the old man has fainted, and perhaps he's dead. I have to command for the flogging. Receive him and bring him before me. The chief of the atrium vanished behind the curtain, but the revival could not have been easy, for Vinicius waited a long time and was growing impatient. Then the slave brought Chilo and disappeared at a signal. Chilo was pale as linen, and down his leg threads of blood were flowing to the mosaic pavement of the atrium. He was conscious, however, and failing on his knees began to speak with extended hands. Thanks to thee, Lord, thou art great and merciful. Dog, said Vinicius, know that I forgave thee because of that Christ to whom I owe my own life. O Lord, I will serve him and thee. Be silent and listen. Rise. Thou wilt go and show me the house in which lay he at duels. Chilo sprang up, but he was barely on his feet when he grew more deadly pale yet and said in a failing voice, Lord, I am really hungry. I will go, Lord, I will go. But I have not the strength command to give even remnants of the plate of thy dog. I will go. Pinesius commanded to give him food, a piece of gold, and a mantle. But Chilo, weakened by stripes and hunger, could not go to take food, though terror raised the hair on his head, lest Vinicius might mistake his weakness with stubbornness and command to flog him anew. Only let wine warm me, repeated he, with chattering teeth. I shall be able to go at once, even to Magna Graecia. He regained some strength after a time, and they went out. The way was long, for like the majority of Christians, Linus dwelled in the Trans-Tiber and not far from Medium. Alascillo showed Vinicius a small house standing apart, surrounded by a wall covered entirely with ivy, and said, Here it is, Lord. Well, said Vinicius, go thy way now, but listen first to what I tell thee. Forget that thou hast served me. Forget where Miriam, Peter, and Glaucus dwell. Forget also this house and all Christians. Thou wilt come every month to my house, where Demas, my freedman, will pay thee 2 pieces of gold. But shouldst thou spy further after Christians, I will have thee flogged or delivered into the house of the prefect of the city. Chilo bowed down and said, I will forget. But then Vinicius vanished beyond the corner of the street. He stretched his hand after him, and threatening with his fist exclaimed, By Ate and the Furies, I will not forget. Then he grew faint again.